Well folks, it's been quite some time since I last did a special projects build in Gran Turismo 7. The last one went over very well. It was a GT1 style build for the Aston Martin 177. It was a lot of fun to build. This time we're going definitely track day again, but not so much of a race car and more in the same vein, as is pretty obvious, as the FXX, the 599XX and the FXXK. This is another what if creation. What if there were a Ferrari F8 Tributo based F8XX track-only monster. Now I've done 3 different visual designs, one in red, one in yellow and one in blue. They are all available as of right now on the storefront, so if you use these search tags, or of course if you're already a friend of mine on there anyway, you can see it, but use the tags to find it. Pick out the one that you like. You will need the wide body kit fitted from the GT Auto shop, and then all of the other visual stuff, the livery, the bodywork, the wheels, that will all be fitted automatically. Now as far as the stuff that you need to fit, of course that is in the tuning shop. Now first of all, let's talk specs. I wanted it to be realistic enough to be believable as an XX vehicle, so 850 horsepower, that's certainly not out of the realm of possibility, especially when the base car has 710 already. The weight is not super light, but it is a lot lighter than stock, 1175 kilos, and I've got more of that over the front end now to balance it out a little bit at a 4753. And as you can tell, the point level is not designed or optimized for any kind of competition. It sits at 803, which isn't really particularly useful, so if you do want to use it for, say, the 800 level, you could pretty easily do that, and we'll get to how in a second. Now, as far as actually fitting stuff, I would recommend having your racing hard tyres, the racing suspension, which is of course the fully customizable stuff. As far as the ride height, I've gone for 100mm on the back, 90 on the front, so a little bit lower on the front end, anti-roll all the way up to 8, 38 on the compression for the dampers, 44 on the rebound. As far as the frequency of the suspension, I've gone for 3.85, again front and rear, quite a bit of camber, like race car territory at 3 degrees. Then for the toe, we've towed out the front by 0.10 and towed in the rear by 0.20. Then as far as the diff, this is where things of course can totally change on any car, depending on your personal preference, what you feel like a particular vehicle should or shouldn't have. The diff really can change everything. For this one, I wanted the car to definitely be able to bite back, because at the end of the day, it's an 850 horsepower Ferrari, so you don't want it to be too easy to drive. But at the same time, it is very quick, very smooth, but very savage. That's the kind of effect I wanted, so I've gone for 20 on the initial torque, then 30 and 30 for both acceleration and braking. As far as the NOS, of course we don't have any. For the transmission, again I would recommend the top one, the fully customizable racing version. I've gone for just a quick auto setting of 360 kilometers an hour. That's good enough to give you a top speed on this one of around the 220 or so mile an hour region. Again, it's not a top speed build, it's not a racing build in the traditional sense, so if you want to change that, by all means do so. To me, 220 miles an hour is more than enough, but if you do plan to, let's say for example, use it at the 800 point event on Le Mans, you might want to stretch out the gears a little bit more, maybe 380, maybe even 400 kilometers, but I'll leave that down to you. The power restrictor and the ECU output are both on 100, so they're stock, and then for the ballast, we are running quite a bit. So to go over here for a second, as you can see, I've gone to the stage 4 weight reduction. I have actually done the increased body rigidity as well, which I don't always do, but again, track day monster, you want it to feel stiffer and more hardcore. So I've gone for that. Then with that stage 4 weight, add 111 kilos of ballast, and I've put that all over the front end. So it's still not a 50-50, but it's a little bit closer to it. It's pretty prime, actually, around a similar kind of weight distribution to a Maserati. So, of course, I'm going to be partial to that. And as far as the downforce, it does have the spoiler, the front chin splitter. As I said, if you download my livery and everything, you'll get that automatically. But I would recommend the highest downforce level. And then as far as the rest, I've actually gone for the low RPM turbo. Might seem like a strange choice, but the reason why I've done that is because as a track day car, rather than an overall straight line machine, I wanted the turbo, especially in conjunction with the anti-lag, which as you can see is set on strong, I wanted these 3 things to really work together to give it that instant punch. So there would be no lag at all, vicious instant acceleration, a real shove of 850 horsepower and quite a bit of torque as well. So that definitely does that. As far as the anti-lag though, if you do want to lower the points a little bit, and say use it at 800, that is one of the ways you can easily do that. By turning off the anti-lag completely, you will also save some fuel as well. As far as the intercooler, I've left that standard. Again, I wanted to keep it to 850 horsepower. We've got the racing air cleaner, or the air filter, the racing silencer, aka the race exhaust, and the racing exhaust manifold as well. As far as the brakes, you could actually change this one up if you want to. I've gone for the carbon ceramics. There's no real reason to do that. You could go for just the normal vented racing brakes or the drilled ones because they are cheaper. I just went for the carbon because I wanted it to look and feel just a little bit more special in terms of just the build side. You know, to be that bit more exotic and hypercar-esque. That's all down to you though. Racing brake pads, of course. The handbrake, the brake balance, the steering angle kit, I haven't done any of that. Steering angle you might want to look into, but again, it's not a drift car. It could come in handy though, just to make it more maneuverable, so I'll leave that down to you. And then as far as the clutch and flywheel, that is race spec as well. I don't have a prop shaft for it, and I'm assuming that you can probably get a stage 5 weight reduction on a spin, but I don't have that. And again, even if I did, I probably wouldn't have fitted it, because I want this build to be accessible to everyone. And as you can see here, I have not fitted any of the non-reversible parts. So in other words, the bored out or stroked engine, polish ports, etc., etc. I didn't want to fit anything that you can't take off. So this is a very customizable tune. Now, with all of that in mind, you should match those numbers, and if you do this in future after an update, it probably won't match the numbers anymore because they're always messing around with the points. But with that in mind, all that remains, of course, is to jump over to Monza to see what this beast can do in practice. So actually here at Monza, the car performed better than I was actually expecting. I thought it was going to be a little bit too twitchy, maybe a little bit too slippery with around the 850 horsepower region. That is a huge amount of power for a relatively lightweight car, racing tyres or not. But the way this has all come together, from the livery that I made to the aero kit that I fitted with the wheels, the offset, everything just, it kind of came together exactly as I wanted it really. The only thing that I was considering doing that I ended up not doing was adding racing numbers to the car, like the custom Ferrari font. I decided against that in the end because I wanted it to feel a little bit more like the base model, XX models, rather than a, racing series version. Aside from that though, as I said, it's available in red, yellow and blue. So if you want to check it out, it's pretty easy to do. Just use those hashtags that I said earlier on, fit the parts that I've done in this video, and then take it out to the track and let me know what you think. If you do use it for racing, I think it definitely has potential for that as well, especially since I'm running it on hards, so it's not like it's too OP and then becomes rubbish. If you put it on hards, it's working with those straight off the bat. So ultimately, let me know what you think. Check out the other special projects that I've already done on the channel, and of course, stick around for more in future. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.